Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Hurricane Francine is likely to become Category 2 before it makes landfall in Louisiana. I'll show you the timeline and what we could see here.
And funding for private school vouchers is likely to take a big step forward today. What Republicans want from the plan and why Democrats say it takes money away from public schools.
Also, give you this live look right now, the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. The commemorations happening today here locally and across the country for the people who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. Never forget, hard to believe it's been 23 years so far right now. We're glad you're with us here as we get our Wednesday started together. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Great to have you with us here in the 6 o'clock hour. Let's get right to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking Francine, which is now a hurricane.
And it became a hurricane yesterday at around 11 p.m. In our 5 o'clock advisory, it now shows Category 2 before it makes landfall right there along the coast in Louisiana, around the central coastline. New Orleans is going to be right here. New Orleans is not going to be where we see landfall, but it's going to be on the side of the storm that will likely see the heaviest amount of damage. It's about 245 miles southwest of the coast of Louisiana right now, moving northeast at 10 with winds at 90 miles per hour. You can see the forecast path here. Around 5 o'clock or so is when it's likely to make landfall, and then it quickly becomes a tropical storm and then just a low by the weekend, and it stalls there along the Mississippi Valley, bringing a lot of rain to the north and east of the center of circulation. A lot of that heavy rain will be across parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, but a front will stall there and keep a lot of that rain to our south over the weekend. There's a second system that could develop along that front that brings us a better chance for rain early next week, and then we'll focus on that in just a little bit. North Hills this morning looking nice and clear, 60 degrees, our dew point 56, and we're looking at our temperatures across the area, mainly in the 50s to around 60 degrees. Our humidity is nice and low right now. We'll see a nice day. Some increasing high clouds from Francine this afternoon with a high of 83. Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, at 6:01, we just got reports that first responders down there in Holly Springs are working a crash on Green Oaks Parkway near Thomas Mill Road. We're picking up quite a bit of backup in that area, so if you live in that area, you might want to find an alternate route this morning. We're also getting reports of Raleigh police working a crash on the Beltline near Lake Boone Trail. Sensors are not picking up any major problems this morning, but really and truly all the major roadways in Raleigh and surrounding communities are delay-free.
Ken, thanks. Right now, a symbolic stair climb at Kenan Stadium on UNC's campus is just getting started. It's a way to honor the lives lost and first responders on September 11th, 2001. WRAL's Nick Perlin joins us live from Kenan Stadium right now. And Nick, tell us about the deeper meaning behind this tradition.
Well, Renee, this happens every year, and the meaning is they want to climb the stairs of the stands here behind me to honor the first responders who risked their life to save as many people as they possibly could on 9/11. And right now, speakers are actually talking to the hundreds of people who are getting ready to climb these stairs here at Kenan Memorial Stadium to give a little bit more background on this event and, of course, honor the thousands of Americans who lost their lives due to the terrorist attacks that happened on 9/11. They're going to get ready to climb the stairs very shortly after these brief remarks are over at the podium. And we're going to be here all morning to watch people show their respects to those first responders and, of course, the people who tragically died on September 11th, 2001. So make sure you check back in with me this morning. We're going to show you people climbing the stairs and paying respects to the people who paid the ultimate sacrifice that day. Reporting live in Chapel Hill, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
It is a moving tribute there in Chapel Hill to ensure that we never forget. Today, President Biden and Vice President Harris will commemorate the lives lost on 9/11. You're taking a live look at the 9/11 Memorial in New York City this morning. Biden and Harris will take part in a ceremony at Ground Zero. They will then fly to Shanksville, Pennsylvania to participate in a wreath-laying ceremony at the Flight 93 Memorial. They will then go to the Pentagon for a wreath-laying ceremony there.
Today, the Republican-led State House is expected to approve hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding for private school vouchers, the so-called opportunity scholarships. They provide up to $7,500 for families to send their kids to private schools. It amounts to more than $250 million in public money, and 50,000 families have been on a wait list for those scholarships. Republicans support the measure. Democrats believe the large price tag takes away from public school investment. This bill would also require sheriff's offices to comply with requests from federal immigration and customs enforcement officials.
A group of organizations dedicated to providing more resources to public schools is holding a news conference against that bill. The group Every Child NC will hold its news conference outside the legislative building around 12:30 this afternoon to speak about their opposition to private school vouchers. The House is expected to vote around 2 o'clock.
Now, this morning, we will learn for the first time, we'll get an update on what is happening with repurposing dollars in the UNC system universities, and it's for repurposing dollars and jobs previously supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Board of Governors repealed its DEI policy during the summer and replaced it with one stressing principled neutrality. Now, universities, including UNC Chapel Hill and NC State, had until September 1st to submit their plans to reallocate the money and reorganize jobs for DEI on their campuses. WRAL will have a camera in the room when those new policies are unveiled and discussed. Also, in just a few hours, we will get an update on how the prices you pay for groceries and other items for your family are changing. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live right now this morning. And Kelsey, these economists predict today's new report will show that inflation is slowing down just a bit.
Jeff, that's what we're expecting. So this new economic report will give us an idea about where we stand today. And we see the impacts of inflation the most in two places, at the gas pump and with everyday grocery items like eggs. So the average price of eggs here at the beginning of the year was $2.52. That's a little bit more than half of what they cost at the same time last year, but still higher than what they were before the pandemic. Economist Gerald Cohen with UNC says data shows people's wages are catching up to inflation. It just doesn't feel that way. Everyday grocery prices or grocery items are still more expensive than pre-pandemic prices, like we just showed you with these eggs. But prices for items you don't buy every day, like used cars, are going down. Today's report should give us an indication of what the Fed will do with interest rates. Economists expect interest rates will drop as inflation continues to cool. So that new report will be released this morning at 8:30. We'll be sure to keep you updated. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Now on to the first debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. Registered voters who watched the debate last night say Harris turned in a better performance than Trump. According to a CNN poll, 63% said Harris outperformed Trump. Prior to the debate, those same voters were evenly split on who they thought would do better. Voters gave Trump a 20-point advantage over Harris after the debate on handling the economy, 55% to 35%. 82% of people who watched the debate say it didn't affect their choice for president at all. Only 4% said it changed their minds. The majority of people on a Fox News voter panel said they believe Harris won the debate.
The Harris campaign is calling for another debate in October. They made the comments moments after the end of last night's event in Philadelphia. Trump has also called for more debates, so a second matchup between the two seems likely in the future. Meanwhile, vice presidential candidates Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz have agreed to a debate on October 1st.
Reaction from North Carolina's elected leaders is pouring in after last night's debate between President and Vice President Harris, former President Trump. Governor Roy Cooper was the first to post about the debate. He was part of NBC's pre-debate coverage in the spin room. He says, quote, "We just watched Donald Trump slowly come unraveled. He was angry and incoherent. Kamala Harris was focused and presidential." Raleigh Mayor Marianne Baldwin reposted this statement. Republican Senator Tom Tillis also posted his reaction on X, saying Democrats replaced their candidate at this debate, but the choice remains the same. 4 more years of Trump's economic success and secure borders, or 4 more years of Biden-Harris out-of-control inflation and record levels of illegal immigration.
One of the big topics covered in last night's debate was immigration. And that is one of the topics our WRAL News poll found is most important to you. WRAL's Michelle McConaughey is here now with more on what each candidate had to say about that. Michelle.
Yeah, Renee, during their first debate, Trump and Harris battled over immigration, knocking each other's policies and defending their own records. Harris spoke about a border security bill that she supported, a bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help folks who are working there right now. Trump insisted that crime is down in other countries because their dangerous criminals are living here in the U.S., calling it one of the biggest mistakes in our history. We'll show you VP Harris's response to the moderator's question, followed by President Trump's response.
That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill.
Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country.
And the debate was in Pennsylvania, a battleground state that could really make a difference. Polling right now shows a neck-and-neck race. And coming up, we'll break down what the candidates had to say about one of the most important topics, the economy.
Wildfires in the western part of our country are forcing tens of thousands of people out of their homes. We have a look at the rapidly growing wildfires. Officials now say that number is more than 70.
And one person in Texas is waking up incredibly rich. What we know about the winner of the Mega Millions jackpot.
And I pulled up the radar from Lake Charles, Louisiana. You can see the rain bands moving inland here in Louisiana. I'll show you when Francine is likely to make landfall and what the impacts could be here.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
6:14, turn around and look at this. Such a beautiful sunrise. Gorgeous red and orange glow. Just a few clouds in the sky. As we head through the afternoon, we'll see more clouds starting to thicken up, and it will be mostly cloudy starting tomorrow all the way through the weekend. But not a lot of rain in our forecast. We're going to talk about the position of Francine and why we won't see a whole lot of rain here. But another system could bring us more rain early next week. 52 in Lewisburg, 56 Irwin, 55 in South Hill. It's a very pleasant start, similar to what we saw yesterday. So comfortable walking the dog this morning, and a mild afternoon with high temperatures in the low 80s. And as I mentioned, we'll see some increasing clouds. Our next best chance of rain doesn't come until Sunday, and we'll walk you through those chances as we get into early next week. Coming up, Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, weather and traffic every 10 minutes is happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We have reports of Raleigh police working a crash around Lake Boone Trail on the Beltline, those westbound lanes. Let's take a live look at that live camera at I-440 and Lake Boone Trail. You can't see the crash on this particular camera, but clearly it's not affecting traffic in any way. All the other major routes in Raleigh and surrounding communities are delay-free. I am tracking a crash in Holly Springs, and coming up in about 10 minutes from now, I'll have an update on that.
You'll stay on top of it. Ken, thank you. Tens of thousands of people are under wildfire evacuation orders and warnings in the western part of the country today. Officials say the U.S. now has more than 70 large active fires. Some are growing rapidly. In Orange County, California, what's called the airport fire is expanding rapidly after igniting Monday. 2 other fires are also close by. Some people can see all 3 from one spot. 7 other states are also facing wildfires.
Classes are canceled at a high school in Omaha, Nebraska today after police say a 14-year-old shot another student. The 15-year-old boy who was shot is in the hospital with serious injuries but is expected to survive. This happened just before 12:30 yesterday at Omaha Northwest High School. Police say they found and arrested the 14-year-old about 30 minutes later and about 3 blocks away from the school.
This week, we could learn the new name of PNC Arena. The Centennial Authority, which owns the Raleigh Arena, is meeting this afternoon. They also scheduled a special meeting for tomorrow to approve a contract with a new partner for naming rights. A new trailer video for the NHL 25 video game offers a hint at the new name. It shows the arena as the Lenovo Center.
There's a chance today for people living in the western part of Wake County to learn more about plans for the area's future. Wake County leaders will hold a drop-in community meeting to share the draft area plan map you see here. It is a guide for how the county plans to grow and develop in the unincorporated parts. The meeting will be at the White Oak Foundation Resource Center in Apex from 4:30 to 6 tonight.
Happening today, volunteers with Durham Habitat for Humanity will begin their 9/11 week of service and remembrance. The annual event brings together veterans, organizations, and community members wishing to honor the lives lost on that day and to serve veterans. Today through Saturday, volunteers will focus on home repairs and construction shifts.
Fuquay Arena Fire and police officials will host a remembrance ceremony at Fire Station 4 in Holly Springs. That is happening at 8:30 this morning. The town of Hope Mills will hold a 9/11 tribute at the John W. Hodges Public Safety Center Monument Garden. That also begins at 8:30. And at Clayton Fire Station 1, first responders will read firsthand accounts from that day. That begins at 9 this morning.
Someone in Texas is waking up really, really rich. One ticket sold there hit all the winning Mega Millions numbers during last night's drawing. The jackpot was $800 million. And if the winner chooses the cash prize option, they'll get more than $400 million. Still a good chunk of change. Here's a look at those numbers. They were 1, 2, 16, 24, 66. The Mega Ball is 6 and the Megaplier is 4. Be sure to check if you won a smaller prize. The jackpot now resets to $20 million. And the next drawing will be Friday night at 11 here on WRAL.
6:18, the time right now, swirling in the Gulf of Mexico. If you went to bed before 11 o'clock last night, maybe you didn't know this was a hurricane right now. Francine is churning, and Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now.
Right now, it's about 245 miles south of the coast of Louisiana. But, of course, out ahead of it, all the rain and wind, and off to the east of it as well. Once the center of circulation moves past, once it makes landfall, the worst of the storm will actually be over. It has winds at 90 miles per hour right now, likely to become Category 2 by this afternoon, with winds at 100 miles per hour, and then making landfall late afternoon or early evening. It becomes a tropical storm and then dissipates to a remnant low by the time we get to Friday, but it's just going to sit there along the Mississippi Valley and continue to produce some rain for the next few days. I'll show you why we don't see a whole lot of rain out of the system, but let's talk about what folks here in Louisiana are going to see. Hurricane warning, of course, along the coast there as that storm approaches, and you can see here the red area. That's where we could see 9-foot storm surge. And that is, they've just adjusted this. So it's a smaller area here, but a lot of folks are going to see 3 to 6 foot storm surge. All of this is very flat land. So as that water moves inland, it will be able to move inland a pretty long way and cause a lot of damage. Also, a lot of heavy rain, 5 to 10 inches of rainfall here in southeastern Louisiana, and then some very heavy rainfall across Mississippi, Alabama, and into Florida as well. So lots, not just Louisiana, but a good bit of the southeast to the east side of the Mississippi is where we'll end up seeing some of that heaviest rain. Greatest flood risk down here, of course, across Mississippi and southeastern Louisiana. That's where the highest flood risk will be. Notice that we're not in a flood risk. And of course, we'll follow satellite and radar, and you can see where that storm is right now, making landfall, as I mentioned, right around 5 or 6 o'clock, moving up the Mississippi Valley. And then we'll see a front that stalls here, down here across parts of Georgia and South Carolina. That's going to hold a lot of that rain down to the south. But along that front, there may be a low that develops off the coast of South Carolina, and that could bring us some rain by early next week. From Francine, we're not likely to see a whole lot of rain. It may be 1/10 of an inch or so, but look at what happens by early next week, Monday and Tuesday. We get into the red zone. That's looking like 3 to 4 inches of rain from Raleigh eastward. So this could be a pretty significant storm for us. We'll see that low moving inland Monday and Tuesday. It may be a tropical system. It may not. That won't really matter. We're looking at a lot of rain out of that. So from Francine, not a whole lot. Even Sunday, just maybe 1/10 of an inch or less. But Monday, up to 1 1/4 inches, and additional 2 inches on Tuesday. So that could be a real significant situation for us as we get into the early part of next week. So outdoor plans over the weekend. Saturday looks fine. It'll be cloudy. And then on Sunday, it'll be cloudy, and there may be just a few isolated showers. But it looks like early next week is going to be the time frame that we'll end up with our biggest issues. Tropical outlook. outlook, another system at 80% that could develop and move through the Atlantic. Again, looking at a pretty significant situation for us on Monday and Tuesday. Ken, that's something that we'll be watching very closely as it gets closer.
Excellent. Here's something that we're watching rather closely this morning. A crash in the Holly Springs area. First responders have been there for like the last 45 minutes or so. It's on Green Oaks Parkway near Thomas Mill Road. Our sensors are picking up quite a bit of slowdown around Green Oaks Parkway. If that's part of your morning commute, definitely keep that in mind and look for an alternate route. We're also getting reports of Raleigh police working a crash on the northern side of the Beltline near Lake Boone Trail. As we pull up our live camera at I-440 and Lake Boone Trail, we're not seeing the crash on this particular camera, but clearly it's not causing any problems for you this morning on the northern loop of the Beltline. Elsewhere around Wake County and surrounding communities, all the major roads are delay-free at this hour.
Ken, thank you. How about this sunrise, y'all? It is stunning right now. 6:22, much more news to come. Money previously used for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at UNC schools will now be repurposed. The update we're expecting today about all those changes at the UNC system universities.
Hurricane Francine is headed toward Louisiana. How people in those Gulf Coast communities are preparing for it to make landfall.
This What's Trending report, sponsored by Rug & Home.
The actress who will channel historic rocker Janis Joplin in an upcoming biopic has been revealed.
And Ken Smith is here now with What's Trending, Ken.
Yeah, Jeff and Renee, Shailene Woodley will produce and star as a legendary singer. Numerous attempts have been made to capture Joplin's life, but none has come to fruition.
Yeah, there's some people not happy about this choice, but I guess when you produce it, you can star in it as well. California, the state of California, where they're shooting this, kicking in a couple of $1 million to help put this thing along. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, Joplin had quite the life. A short life, albeit.
Yeah.
Beyonce is trending this morning. She's sharing why there haven't been any music videos for her Renaissance and Cowboy Carter albums. In a GQ interview, she says it's important for the people to focus on the voice in a world where all we see are visuals.
Beyonce went on to say that sometimes music videos can take away from the song rather than enhance it. She says the music is enough.
It certainly is when you talk about Beyonce, right? I mean, I think she got snubbed by the CMAs. We'll wait and see. Ken, thanks for that.
Beautiful sunrise in progress right here. Take a live look at Clinton. But notice the cloud cover. We're going to start to see some clouds from Francine moving through. We take a look at where that storm is right now. It will make landfall along the Gulf Coast here in Louisiana this afternoon. I'll show you the impacts here and, of course, in Louisiana coming up.
And we'll give you this live look right now in Philadelphia this morning as the race for the White House enters a new phase. In 10 minutes, we have a live report from Philly covering the big moments from last night's debate.